So many of us don't know how to create wealth. So many of us do not recognize what our attitude is towards money and our attitude is towards wealth creation. We have the expert and world-class coach, Mr. Myron Golden, on the latest episode of the Get Attitude podcast to help you define, understand, and communicate what money means to you. What is the roadmap to defeat self-sabotage, negative thinking, and learned helplessness? In these unprecedented times, you must get connected, get growing, get certain, and get attitude. The Get Attitude Podcast. Welcome to the GAP, the Get Attitude Podcast. Today we are with the one and only Myron Golden. He is the author from The Trash Man to the Cash Man. And line him up and sign him up. I've been following Myron on Instagram and Facebook. He is changing lives throughout America. He is helping people get from where they are to where they want to go, and from who they are to who they want to become. Myron, welcome to the Get Attitude Podcast.
Thanks, Glenn. Glad to be here, man. Absolutely my pleasure.
All right, and so I know you're down in Tampa. My guess is the weather is beautiful every day down there, isn't it?
Another beautiful day in Tampa Bay. That's our motto.
I love you. You sound like a weatherman. I like that. Another beautiful day in Tampa. Hey, well, Myron, we're just so lucky and blessed to have you with us today at the Get Attitude Podcast. And what I want to do with you, because I know you are changing lives of people through your coaching programs, and you're taking them from where they are to where they want to be. The first thing I want to know is, how do you define attitude? And I'd love to hear a story about maybe the most influential person in your life that affected your attitude, positively or negatively.
Yeah, so attitude. What is attitude? It's really your perspective. It's what you're focused on. And I shouldn't say your attitude is what you're focused on, but your attitude is determined by what you're focused on. I believe that the attitude is determined by the frame you put around the fact. A lot of people say that, well, this happened to me, or that happened to me, or this happened for me, or that happens for me, and that's why I'm the way I am. But you're really the way you are because of the frame you put around the fact, not because of the fact that's in the frame. And so when we learn how to build better frames for the facts that happen in our lives, then we have a better focus, and that better focus creates better feelings. That better feeling creates better function. And then, and only then, are we having an attitude that can create altitude. Who's the person who affected my attitude the most? I would have to say it would be two people that affected my attitude the most, and that was my parents, James and Carolyn Golden. I've got 6 brothers, and my parents they weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they did a whole lot of stuff right.
That's cool. That's cool. And so you got 6 brothers and sisters? You're one of 7?
No. I have 6 brothers, no sisters.
6?
I have 1 older brother, 5 younger brothers. I got a bunch of sisters-in-law, but no sisters.
So
I'm one of 7.
You are number 2.
Number 2, numero dos.
Now, did you tell me about what James and Carolyn did right?
So they taught us to work hard. Mm-hmm. They taught us to be honest. They taught us to get along with each other, fight for the things you believe in, and fight for each other. Those are some of the things they taught us.
That's cool. And did you have a relationship with your grandparents?
My grandparents, with the exception of my paternal grandmother, 3 of my grandparents died before I was born.
Right.
And my paternal grandmother, I met her a couple of times, but didn't really have a relationship with my grandparents.
Right, but no big history. Now, when you were growing up, did you guys compete, you and your brothers, and did you play any sports as a kid?
So I had polio as an infant, right?
Wow.
So I walk with a brace on my leg.
Okay.
So I didn't play running sports because I can't run, right? But I did karate. But we played basketball. We played, baseball in the yard and basketball in the driveway and all that stuff. So yeah, we played sports. My brothers played on some organized sports teams, but I was in an actual karate class. I'm a black belt in martial arts.
Oh, fantastic! And then talk to me about this book called Trash Man to Cash Man. Were you really a trash man?
I was really a trash man. The first job that I got as a married man, the first job I was able to find as a married man back in the 1980s was driving a trash truck for $6.25 an hour and $9.50 an hour for overtime, and worked as much overtime as I could. So I drove a garbage truck during the day, but I was licensed in insurance and investments, and I sold insurance and investments at night. So that was my introduction to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I have a feeling, though, that there were some attitude lessons learned driving that truck. I know that trash men work as a team. I know that it's just not you. Maybe it was. I'd love you to recognize those folks that were in that truck with you. And what were the lessons and what were the things you figured out as you were driving around? And how long were you a trash man?
Yeah, that's really cool. So actually the people who were with me in the truck were really interesting people, because I had people in the truck with me like Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret.
Yes.
So I was a shuttle driver. I didn't drive a route.
Okay.
So I was a shuttle driver, which means after they filled up the trucks, I would drive them to the dump and empty them.
Nice.
So I did that 4 or 5 times a day, and I was done. So I was the only person in my truck, but I had a tape recorder, a battery-operated cassette tape recorder on the seat.
Right.
And this is before Walkmans and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I would listen to motivational tapes while I was in the car. I'd listen to Art Williams. I'd listen to Earl Nightingale. I'd listen to whatever motivational tapes I could get my hands on that were inspiring me to go out and sell more insurance and investments at night.
And so you were an A.O. Williams guy.
I was an A.O. Williams. Yep. Buy term and invest the difference.
Oh, my gosh. I sat through a few A.O. Williams presentations back in the late 80s.
Absolutely.
Are you still generating revenue from A.O. Williams?
No. I don't even have licenses anymore. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I learned how money works, and then I started making money and putting my money to work for me.
What do you think you learned mostly from Earl Nightingale? Is there any one thing that always comes to your mind?
Oh yeah. Thoughts are things.
Thoughts are things.
And not only are they things, but they're incredibly powerful things, as he said in The Strangest Secret. And we are, like the whole concept of The Strangest Secret, we become what we think about. Right. So our thoughts create our actions, and our actions actually create our experience.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't realize what you do in your mind is really, really the most. This is the creation ground. This is where the battles are fought and won and lost. And if you get it right in here, the stuff out here will take care of itself.
So what was in your mind when you were with your hands on the wheel sitting in that truck? What was on your mind? Were you saying there's something better for me? There's something more in life?
I definitely
was driving
knew that for
you?
sure. In fact, I only drove the trash truck for probably 8 months.
Okay.
And then I got promoted to be a salesman.
Oh, right? There you go.
Because my boss saw me reading books, right, on my break, reading books about how to sell. And they're like, "Why are you reading books? Trash men don't read books." Well, I'm not a trash man. This is just what I do for a living. I sell stuff at night, so I'm going to learn how to sell. And what, interestingly enough, Glenn, when I got started in A.O. Williams, I was so woefully awful at selling. I was one of the worst salespeople in the world. I started selling in October of I got started with A.O. Williams in October of 1985.
Right.
I made my first sale in April of 1987. So 18 months of doing presentations, not 18 months of just being licensed, not 18 months of just being in the company, 18 months of doing presentations, and I finally made my first sale. And I think the most important thing that I learned from that was that you've got to last through the learning curve, right? And most people give up before they break through.
Yeah.
See, something's going to give. Either you're going to give up or it's going to give out. and it gave out before I gave up. And so after I made that first sale within a couple of months, I was the top salesman in our office almost every month after that. It was just insane after that. And some people say, well, what happened? What was the difference? What was the shift, right? Well, the shift was over a year and a half, I ran out of all the ways that wouldn't work to make a sale, and all I had left were the ways that would.
I love that. And so you were the top A.L. Williams rep. How many reps were there in your market? Like 20, 30?
Well, in our office, I wasn't the top in our market. I was the top in our office. In our office, we probably had 12, 15 guys.
Okay, that's cool. And so I know that you talk a lot about wealth building. Talk to me about the attitude of wealth building, and what is the biggest mistake people make when it comes to building wealth? And then what is the secret to building wealth?
Wow, that's a good question. So I'm going to use my whiteboard for this one.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, I like this.
Okay. So the biggest mistake people make, I think the biggest mistake people make, I'm going to give you two big mistakes. One is they believe that time is money. Okay. Believing that time is money is a huge, huge financial mistake. If you go through life believing that time is money, you're going to sell a lot of your time for a little bit of somebody else's money. Okay? Gotcha. You're always going to end up on the short end of the time is money stick if you believe that time is money. So poor people value money more than they value time. Rich people value time more than we value money. Poor people waste a lot of time to save a little money. They sell a lot of their time for a little bit of somebody else's money. Rich people spend as much money as necessary to buy back the rest of our lives. So when you get that equation right, and you understand that time is infinitely more valuable than money, then and only then can you truly start to create wealth. Because see, the reason I pay somebody to cut my grass is because my time is too valuable. The reason I pay somebody to clean my pool is because the time is too valuable. Even though I could fix my own car and do a tune-up and all, the reason I pay somebody to do that is because my time is too valuable. I value my time too much to waste it on those things. Most people value the money, so what they do is they'll save a little bit of money, but they'll waste a lot of time doing something they could pay somebody else for, and then they could go make $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 an hour if they learn some new skills. So the biggest hindrance to creating wealth is believing that time is money. Now, not only is time not money, this is going to blow your mind. Well, maybe it's not going to blow your mind, but it'll blow somebody's mind. Wealth is measured more in time. Wealth is measured more in time than it is in money. So if I ask you, if you make $1 million, I'm going to go back to my whiteboard here.
Cool.
If you make $1 million, are you rich? And the answer is, it depends. Well, what does it depend on? Well, if you make $25,000 a year, you make $25,000 a year and you work for 40 years, you made $1 million. Right? But you're not rich. Why? It took you too long to make it. But if you make that same $1 million in a year,
yes,
now you're rich. You're 40 times richer than the person who makes $25,000 a year. If you make that, and by the way, the $1 million is the $1 million. The difference is not how much money you made. The difference is how long it took you to make it. See, I submit to you that most people make enough money. They think, well, I'm broke because I don't make enough money. No, you're not broke because you don't make enough money. You're broke because you don't make money fast enough. And one of the reasons you don't make money fast enough is because you've been programmed your whole life to believe that there's something wrong with getting rich quick. But the rich, by its very definition, implies quick. You're not going to be here long enough to get rich slow. So if you wrap your mind around the idea that we've been programmed to stay away from get rich quick schemes, but nobody's warned us about the stay broke for the rest of your life scheme. Right? So everybody's bought into the stay broke for the rest of your life scheme because they're so afraid of getting rich quick. Right. And I get it. There's no such thing as free, easy money. There's no such thing. You got to do something. You got to provide value in the world, but you can provide that value much faster, or a lot more value in a short period of time, and create rapid wealth for yourself. I think that's the biggest mistake people make. I think the second biggest mistake is they think they don't understand the value of money. They think that money is too materialistic, right? And so, and because they think it's materialistic, they resist it, right? So if people, it's not that people can't create wealth if they don't create wealth. It's because they resist creating wealth, and they resist creating wealth because they think it's it's inherently evil. Like a lot of people believe that making money is evil. Some people say, well, money's not evil. It's neither good nor evil. It's neutral. And it just makes you more of what you already are. I submit to you that neither one of those are true. I believe that wealth is inherently good and money is inherently good, even though sometimes people use it for bad. Now, why do I believe that money is good? I believe that money is good and wealth is good because God said it's good, right? In Genesis chapter 2, in the Garden of Eden, where there are two people, they're married to each other, there are no stores, there's nothing for sale, there's nothing to buy, but that God put gold in the Garden of Eden, and not only did he put it there, he told us it was there, and he told us that it was good.
I love it.
So wealth is inherently good.
I think what you're really talking about is people's attitude towards money. Our definition of attitude is the way you dedicate yourself to the way you think, right? And so what you're really walking through is, Glenn, these are the ways that people are dedicating themselves to the way they think about money. And I know that's what you're pulling out of people, that's what you're growing people, and that's what you're teaching people. What do we tell the gapper? Those are the names of my listeners. That are,
I like it.
Thank you, my friend. They're making $45,000. There's something deep inside their heart and their gut, and they're going, I feel stuck. Look, I don't have money to buy more time. And I need a way out. I need to be Myron. And I hear what he's saying, and I think I believe what he's saying, but I got no money. I got 2 kids. I'm broke, COVID, whatever. What do you tell that guy or that mom, that single mom that's stuck, that feels like the world's against her? What's the message of hope? What's the mindset? What's the attitude you can instill in them to make a difference right now for somebody that's listening?
So I'm going to say this: change your frame and you change everything. I want to show you what I mean. This is so cool. I hope it doesn't bother you is it okay for me to use my whiteboard?
Myron, we are a vodcast, so we're on YouTube. We are actually on C-Suite television. We just got picked up by a TV show, so we got you. You use that whiteboard. So we're changing lives already, baby.
So let's go. So this is you. This is the fact.
This is some Bob Proctor stuff right here.
Cool. I'll take that association. Yeah. Sign me up for that.
He's always famous for stick guys. Go ahead. I'll stop interrupting. Go ahead.
So you observe the fact. The fact is that for me, the fact is I had polio, right? I was born in a segregated hospital. I had polio. That's a fact. Right? I was born in the 1960s during segregation. That's a fact, right? The fact is you may have lost your job. The fact is the doctor may have given you bad news. The fact is you may have lost your job. The fact is you may have lost your retirement. The fact is you may have been downsized, outsourced, right-sized, or otherwise. See you later, brother. We don't want to pay you anymore, right? And you think that the fact is the thing that is the determining factor. But the fact is never the determining factor. The fact is just the fact. It's a contributing factor. The things that most people don't know the difference between contributing factors and determining factors. Contributing factors are all outside of you. Determining factors are all inside of you. So when you see this fact, the fact is either going to make you happy or the fact is going to make you sad. Or it's going to make you excited or it's going to make you angry. And what's the difference and how this fact affects me? One thing, the frame in my head that I put around that fact. See, it's not the fact that matters. It's the frame that matters. If your attitude is right, the facts don't matter. Period. Mm-hmm. People say, well, no, the facts matter. No, first of all, what people say are facts ain't facts anyway. And second of all, there's no fact that can happen to you in your life that's bigger than you are. So the fact is just the fact. So you got this frame this frame around the fact, which we're going to call a focus in your head. So there's a focus in your head, and that focus creates a frame. And what do frames do? Frames create focus. The reason we put a frame around the picture is so we focus on the picture. Okay? So the focus in your head is going to create this thing called a belief. Now, what most people don't realize is belief is a two-sided coin. What does that mean? Belief is a two-sided coin. Well, if belief lands on heads, it it manifests as faith. If belief lands on tails, it manifests as doubt. Right. Now, this is the part people don't understand. Faith and doubt are both belief.
Yes.
Faith is belief in the outcome I desire. Doubt is belief in the outcome I don't desire. But it's not, well, do you have faith or do you have belief or do you have doubt? Well, doubt is a belief. It's just more belief in the outcome you don't desire than belief in the outcome you do desire. So I've got this focus in my head that's going to turn into a belief, and this belief is going to travel down, and that focus in my head is going to travel down and create a feeling in my heart.
Yes.
Now I'm going to tell you something. The feeling in your heart is the motivating factor. What does that mean? That means human beings, I believe, are singularly motivated. And what that means is human beings do things for one reason and one reason only. That's because they feel like it. So I don't need to make myself work out. I don't need to make myself eat right. If I desire to be healthy, I need to make myself feel like eating right, and I need to make myself feel like working out. If I'm selling to somebody, I don't have to try to get them to buy. All I have to do is create an environment that makes them feel like buying, because human beings do what they feel like doing, and their feelings are determined by their focus. So shift the focus in your head, and it changes the feeling in your heart. If the focus in your head manifests the belief that is manifested as faith, then the feeling in your heart is going to be called anticipation. Anticipation is a feeling of joy that gives you energy because you expect a favorable outcome in the future. So it's the energy I gain in the present from an outcome I expect in the future. That's what anticipation is. Okay? If the feeling in if the focus in my head produces doubt, then the feeling in my heart is going to be anxiety. Now this is like game changer stuff right here.
Yes.
Anxiety is the thief of your dreams. Anxiety feels like fear. So most people erroneously attribute anxiety to fear. They say, well, I've got a fear of failure. They say, well, I have a fear of success. I have a fear of talking to people. I have fear of being rejected. None of those are fears. They're all anxieties. I have a fear that I'm going to lose everything. I have a fear that I'm going to lose my job. I'm afraid that I'm afraid I'm going to get COVID. I'm afraid I'm going to get sick. I'm afraid the doctor's going to give me bad news. That's not fear. That's anxiety. How can I tell the difference between fear and anxiety since they feel so much the same? Here's how. Fear is caution over a real and present danger. If there is no real danger and there is no present danger, there can be no fear. Fear is caution over real and present danger. I was riding my Segway on the golf course one day, right? And I'm cruising around and I'm checking my Instagram while I'm cruising on my Segway. It's a bad idea to like Instagram and drive. It's even a worse idea to do it on a Segway. Trust me. Right. So I come around this corner from hole number 4 to hole number 5, and I come around the corner. I'm looking at my phone, and I look up, and I'm about 10 feet from a 15-foot alligator laying across the cart path. I stop my Segway. My heart starts racing. My head, like beads of perspiration, like, whoa. And then it gets up and starts lurching around and it goes and crawls. Well, I had fear. Why? Because there was a real and present danger. So my fear served me and potentially saved me. So fear can serve you. Anxiety cannot serve you. Anxiety can only destroy you.
Amen.
Now, here's what happens when you have anxiety. Anxiety is caution over a future imagined danger. So I'm expecting an unfavorable outcome in the future. So it's robbing me of my energy to take action in the present.
Yes.
And so anxiety causes me to waste present energy on a future outcome that is undesirable to me. And what happens when I have anxiety? Like my heart races. I get short of breath. My head sweats. My hands are sweating. I'm having a physical reaction in my body to an expected outcome in the future. There's no danger present. But I am having such a clear vision of this unfavorable outcome that it's causing a physical reaction in my body in the present. And that is what has robbed most people of all their dreams. They have fed their anxiety by building a frame around a fact that causes them to have a belief that manifests as doubt, and that produces a feeling called anxiety. And the only thing you can do when you have anxiety is go sit down or lie down, and you can't even use that for sleeping because your anxiety won't even let you fall asleep. But the focus in our head creates a feeling in our heart, and the feeling in our heart creates, wait for it, a function in our hands.
Yes.
And the function in our hand is going to be determined by what is the feeling in my heart. If the feeling in my heart is if the feeling in my heart is manifest as anticipation, the function in my hand is going to manifest as power. Now I have the power to act. I have the power to change my life. I have the power to go make a sale. I have the power to build a business. I have the power to be in a meaningful relationship. I have the power to affect the world, change in the world. I have power because I have the joyful anticipation of the outcome I desire. But what happens if my frame that I create over here causes me to produce, that focus causes me to produce a belief that manifests as doubt? Well, then the feeling is going to be anxiety, and the feeling of anxiety can only produce the function of paralysis. And the function of paralysis means now I can't do anything. And so I want to say to all the authors out there who think you have writer's block, you don't have writer's block. You're just expecting the book not to sell. I want to talk to all the people out there who think you have a procrastination problem. Nobody has a procrastination problem. Procrastination is always the symptom of a problem. Procrastination is the symptom of anxiety. You're expecting an outcome that you don't desire, and that expected outcome will not allow you to take action in the present. That's why worrying about something bad happening actually makes it happen, because it robs you of the energy to take an action to keep it from happening.
And that is how you bridge the gap from who you are to who you want to become, and from where you are to where you want to go. That is awesome,
That's
Myron.
how it works.
That is so good. Two more quick questions before we go to break. Number one, I'd love to hear the story of your most fulfilling student. I'd love to hear the story of a person that came to you that you said, damn, I did it. Well, I helped that person bridge the gap.
I definitely wouldn't say that. But I might say, wow.
Wow, I did it. Right.
There you go.
So does that person come to your mind? Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I just love to know that story, because sometimes stories obviously give us hope. Tell us what that person was going through.
You want me to tell you that story now?
Sure.
So a couple years ago, I was at an event, met this person, and we started having a conversation. And she said, so what do you do? And I said, I teach people how to build a business according to the principles of the richest man who ever lived, King Solomon. She said, really? Tell me about it. So we talked. I told her about it. She said, wow, I really want to work with you. And that program it's $155,000. It wasn't that much back then. It was $40,000 back then.
Right.
So she said, I really want to work with you. I said, great. Here's what you do. If you want that $40,000 price, put down $2,000 right now, and I'll give you 10 days to come up with the rest of the money. She's like, okay, cool. So she put $2,000 down on her credit card, and she tried to get a loan and didn't get approved. And she tried to get some money from her family and couldn't get money from her family. And so she was basically stuck. She had to pay half down, which was $20,000. She had already paid $2,000, so she had an $18,000 balance. Plus, then she had to go on weekly payments of $400 and something a week, whatever that was. Okay. So she calls me and she says, Myron, I really want to work with you, but I'm not able to come up with the money. What should I do? Like, I really want to work with you. And I took my phone when she called me and I said, who is this person? Like, people, when they tell you you're going to do something, they don't do it. They don't call you and say, I really want to do this. How do I do it? They just hide, right? They disappear. She didn't disappear. She called me. She said, what do I do? I said, okay, here's what you do, Eileen. I said, you got to make more offers. Now, by the way, before I even tell you what happened, I'm going to tell you this. She is a homeschool mom with 3 children. Her husband was driving an Uber. They were not making $40,000 a year. Okay. They were a family of 5 living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Washington, D.C. So she took more money. So I said, make more offers. She said, okay. I said, here's what that means. I said, you have an offer, right? She said, I do. And she hadn't sold very many of them. And she had this little $4,000 offer. I said, here's what you do. Raise the price to $6,000. She said, raise the price to $6,000. Yep. I said, raise the price to $6,000. Let everybody who's on your list know that at the end of this month, that product is going to $6,000. So if they want to work with you, they need to get it now. I said, and take the number of offers you would ordinarily do in a year, do that number of offers in a week. I mean, in a month. Take the number of offers you ordinarily do in a month, do that number of offers every day. Every week, take the number of offers you do every week, do that number of offers every day. Take the number of offers you do every day, do that number of offers every hour of the day that you are working. I said, and you will have the money in 30 days. She called me in 6 days and said, I have the money.
I love it.
Well, that's powerful. It gets better. So one of the things I taught her was how to do live events. She scheduled her first live event to happen within 2 weeks of the time she came to the training. She had 12 people show up for that event. She did $108,000 in sales. And since that time has gone on to make well over $1 million.
Isn't that great?
Last year she made $750,000. Now she does VIP days with people on Zoom where they pay her $55,000 for her to coach them in their business. They pay her $55,000 for 1 day of coaching. Plus they pay her 25% of the revenue she helps them create over the next 12 months. And she's killing the game. Well,
after when we end this, I'll try to get her name and we'll interview her next.
Absolutely, I'll make sure I give you her name.
I would love to would love to do that. The next question before we go for a quick break: you wear rings. I want to know what's the story behind the rings. What's the significance of the rings? What do they mean to you? And should every gapper out there find a ring to put on their finger? Tell me.
Okay, so this ring is my Skillionaire Millionaire Ring. So the name of my company is Skillionaire Enterprises, Inc.
Yes.
Like I said, my business is based off the business model of King Solomon.
Yes.
And Solomon was the wisest man in the world. Well, most people mistakenly think that wisdom is smarts or intelligence or education. But wisdom would actually be translated into our modern day word skill. So the name of my business is Skillionaire Enterprises because I teach you the skills to become a millionaire or a multimillionaire. Okay, so I ended up buying a diamond from a friend of mine because he was in financial difficulty, and it sat in my safe for 2 years. And finally, I met a gemologist, long story short, and told him I had this diamond. I said, can you build a ring around it? So he built a ring. He gave it 138 friends.
Right.
And so other diamonds, right? And so 139 diamonds in this ring. And so that's my Skillionaire Millionaire Ring.
Is there significance to 139?
Say it again.
Is there a significance to 139? Or is the
I'm sure there's a significance to 9. There is a significance to 9, which is really fascinating. But
tell us.
No, that's just how many fit on the ring, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you can come up with a story to make it good. Tell me the second one.
Okay, this ring is my 2 Comma Club X ring. That's for having built a business that does over having a funnel that does over $10 million in revenue.
Right. That's the great Russell Brunson.
Russell Brunson. He is great. He's a good dude.
He is something. Okay. Well, listen. This has been so great, such a great opportunity for our gappers to reframe their mind, to say, what am I doing, and to understand that their attitude about wealth, their attitude about life matters, and you gave them some super information on how to leverage that, and we are so grateful. We're going to take a very quick break, come back with knowledge through the decades, and then we'll let you off the hook. Sound good?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Very good. Thank you. And we will be back with the Get Attitude Podcast. And welcome back to the Get Attitude Podcast. We are with an on-fire guest, Mr. Myron Golden, who helps people create wealth, who helps people see their future in a manner that produces focus, that produces faith, that produces belief. And I know that you guys have been enjoying this. Now we're going to do this fun little thing that we call Knowledge Through the Decades to finish the interview. Myron, what we want to know is some people remember being born, but what is the attitude lesson of birth, of childbirth?
What is the attitude lesson of childbirth? Wow, that's a great question. I never contemplated that before. What's the attitude lesson of childbirth? If you are here, you're already a winner.
Amen. Amen. I love it. So, gappers, understand, you've just been given some great information by a great man. And if you are here, if you are on this Get Attitude podcast, there's a reason you're here. There's because you're a seeker, you're a learner, and you want more from your life. And you know what? You are a winner. So, Myron, thank you for reaffirming everybody that's listening to this.
Absolutely.
That you're born to be great. You have greatness within you, and you are a winner. Now let's get to when you were in 3rd and 4th grade and you were 10 years old. I want to know, what school did you go to at 10, and what was the attitude lesson you learned at 10?
So the school that I went to was Buchanan Elementary School. And in Lewistown, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And what was the
attitude lesson? Think back.
Attitude lesson. Yeah.
Think back. What did you learn at 10?
I think the biggest thing I learned, the lesson I learned in that decade would have been you got to be willing to fight for what you believe in and stand up for yourself. And what reminds me of that, when I was in the 4th, 5th grade, I don't remember, there was a kid in my school, Dave Ray. And I was walking down the hall, I've got this brace on my leg, and he started making fun of me, like walking up to me. And I acted like it was funny, and then I punched him square in the nose.
There you go.
And his nose started bleeding all over the hallway, and we both got called into the principal's office. And I thought I was going to get a paddling, but I didn't get a paddling. The principal said, you just can't do that anymore. And he told Dave, don't make fun of him anymore. So
now my guess is you probably learned how to throw a punch from somebody. Would it have been your older brother?
Older brother, parents, my older cousin, Howard. I had a cousin who was a grown man, or at least I thought he was a grown man when I was in elementary school. He was either a late teenager or early 20s. And, man, he used to play fight with us and beat us and it hurt. So absolutely.
I love it. And the courage that it takes to throw a punch is something. Now, we are not condoning violence, gappers, but here's the thing. When you're 10 years old and you're getting bullied, sometimes it's the only way out. So
absolutely.
So you go through elementary, you get through high school, and in college. I'd love to know where you went to college. You're 20 years old. Tell me what was going on in your head, the attitude lesson at 20, that where you were and what you learned.
Yeah, I was really focused heavily on learning the Bible in my 20s.
Cool.
And even in my teens, I was really focused heavily on learning that. I had an experience with Christ when I was 16 years old, and I started reading the Bible. And the Bible is the very first book I ever started reading. Like before, I never read a book for school. Other than comic books, the Bible was the first book I ever read. Comic books and karate books. Other than that, it was the Bible. And when I started reading the Bible, I was shocked because when I read it, I didn't find in it what I thought I was going to find.
Right.
I thought I was going to find religion in the Bible, but I didn't find a book about religion. I found a practical guide to living my life, how to get along better with my brothers, how to do better financially. It had all of these answers for my practical everyday life. And so I was really heavily focused on learning the Bible. In fact, I was in a Bible college that I'm just going to remain unnamed because I don't want to promote it. But anyway, just because they had some issues, and
sure.
I'm not interested in promoting. I don't want somebody to think, well, Myron went there, I want to go there. No,
right?
No, you don't. But I was going to a Bible college,
right.
In my 20s,
and so
which is where I met my wife.
Oh, God sent you your wife, and what's her name?
Tony.
And what's Tony's attitude, and what's the greatest attitude lesson she's taught you?
The greatest attitude lesson I've learned from my wife is to always have a song in your heart. And hers comes out of her mouth a lot. She's always singing.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. She's a singer. Yeah, well, the Bible, the greatest selling book of all time, plenty of lessons. My
Absolutely.
favorite leadership lesson, brevity is king, and the greatest leadership lesson is simply follow me. Two words. That's it. All good. He did some good
recruiting
stuff.
presentation of all times.
Right. Ain't that the truth? I mean, man, you think of that, and, we're actually doing this. This is going to probably play next month, but it is Holy Week right now for me and for any Christian out there. So
it's interesting. You talked about follow me. I remember something Jim Rohn said about that. He said, follow me. Wow. Such a brief presentation and so powerful. He said, how could a presentation be so brief and yet so powerful? And then he said, because of all that he was that he didn't have to talk about.
See? Amen. Amen. I love it. So you went from Bible college, you got out of Bible college, and then you turned 30. You found your wife. You were probably married. I don't know if you started having kids, but where were you at 30? We started having
kids in our 20s, yeah. So
cool.
By the time I was 30, all of my children were already born, yeah.
Nice. So. And where were you living? What were you doing? And what was your attitude lesson when you were 30?
So when I was 30, let me see, what year was that? I was 30 was 1991. 1991, my wife and I were house parents at a children's home.
Wow.
We were both making $14,400 a year, and we were working 7 days on, 4 days off, 7 days on, 3 days off.
Wow.
And when we were on, we were pretty much on duty 24 hours a day, but we'd have 4 hours off in the afternoon, or whatever time of day we decided to take it. And so we were house parents at a children's home. That's what we were doing.
And I got to go down that rabbit hole, big boy. So tell me. So beautiful. My guess is you probably learned a lot from those children.
Yeah.
Tell me, give me the feelings, the emotions, and the lessons of being sent to deliver that to the Lord's children. Man, that's cool.
Yeah,
and how many kids were in the home?
Yeah, we were house parents for the largest number was 22 girls at one time.
Oh my mercy!
Yeah. And for a guy that had no brothers, that was it. I mean, no sisters. That was interesting, right? But we had the opportunity to attempt to provide a good example for them, as well as to show them love and light. And we're still in contact with some of them to this very day. So
that's wonderful.
It was good.
That's very, very cool. So I'm guessing you didn't stay there for 10 years. You turned 40.
I did not.
Do you remember your 40th birthday, number one? Where were you and what was your attitude lesson? So hold on. I'm not sure I got
19 years ago. So what was that? Okay, 2000.
Well, hold on real quick. I didn't get the attitude. What was the attitude lesson you took from being house parents?
The children, and from being a house parent and being a parent, children are given to us to help us learn lessons as much as they're given to us for us to learn how to teach lessons.
Amen. That's so cool. All right, now we can go to 40 since we got that out of you. Okay. Tell me about 40. Tell me what you learned at 40. Well, attitude lesson.
It wasn't exactly at 40, but it was in my 40s, early 40s.
Sure.
I learned to shift my focus on how I thought about money. And what I mean by that is I was probably 41, 42 when I realized that poor people are poor because they think the purpose of money is to pay bills. Middle class people are middle class because they think the purpose of money is to maintain good credit so they can buy things they can't afford.
Right.
Rich people are rich because we understand that the purpose of money is to turn it into more money before we spend any of it. And so I really shifted my focus from liabilities and bills to assets in my 40s. And that was like 1999 was my first six-figure year. I would have been 39. 2005 was my first seven-figure year. And so I would have been 44, 45. And so what's the attitude lesson? Your perspective on money and how you manage it has far more to do with how wealthy or poor you are than how much money you make.
Yeah, that's just so good. That's so good. And then now you're 50. I mean, now you're 59, but 10 years ago, do you remember? Yeah. So we're not going to get to do this for 60, but I will ask you for a message of hope at 59. 50 years old. You hit the big 5-0. Talk to me about your attitude lesson when you hit that and what your thought was.
The big 5-0, that would have been 2010. So we got a chance to really exercise our ability to create frames around to focus on. From 2007 to 2013, or 2007 to 2013, we basically went through 7 years of tragedy, year after year after year. 2007, my oldest son Adam was killed in a car accident. 2008, the Great Recession they created. We were still doing okay, but a lot of people who owed me money got abducted by aliens. I know, because I've never seen them again. Right. 2009, I built a new network marketing business because that was something I knew how to do, and we had a big lifestyle by that point. We had $1 million house and $300,000 worth of cars, and so we had a big lifestyle, and our regular business revenue was going this way. So I built a network marketing organization that gave me the ability to make $40,000 a month from the network marketing company and $100,000 a month training the people. And the company made some changes to the product, and the whole thing went away in a matter of months. 2010, I got audited by the IRS. And so what I learned, and then it just kept going in that direction until 2013. And what I learned from that is, regardless of what you're going through, you are assigned to go through it, not to go into it.
I love it. I love it. And guys, look at Gappers. I know what you're into, or what you think you're into. If you listen to Myron, all things will pass. We've heard this before on several podcasts. And you need to understand that you're not stuck. You're not in the mix. You're going through the mix, and you will come out on the other side. So we'll finish it up as we talked with the 59-year-old Myron Golden, who has been so good and so giving. What's your message of hope? What's your message of attitude for our Gappers today as they emerge from the pandemic and look at the future for the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, my message of hope is your greatest superpower as a human being, your greatest superpower is expectation. And if you don't learn how to use your superpower skillfully, then the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism is going to use your superpower against you. You're either going to use your superpower of expectation to expect the outcomes you desire, or you're going to use your superpower of expectation to expect the outcomes you don't desire. The difference is going to be who's controlling that superpower. My recommendation to you is to take control of your superpower and only allow yourself to have empowered expectations, and disregard and discard all of your disempowered expectations.
And I'm not so sure you just didn't redefine attitude with that message of hope, right? Okay. I mean, how good was that? Myron Golden, you're a gift to the Get Attitude podcast and to our Gappers. We thank you. Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow Myron on Instagram, he has a link tree there. You need to follow him. If you know there's more to your life, if you know there's more to your bank account, I want you to go to MyronGolden.com. He has all kinds of courses, all kinds of training. If you need a motivational speaker, Myron is the man. And we just want to thank you again, Myron, for being on the Get Attitude podcast. This is Glenn Bill signing off. And we will talk to you at the next episode as you bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to go, and from who you are to who you want to come. Thank you, Myron.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Take care.